fed up prosecutor. Good. I'm glad there's a prosecutor fed up with injustice. A federal prosecutor, John Choi, the prosecutor who charged the officer who shot and killed Philando Castile. Remember that? Let me take you back to that. This is graphic.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me.
Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back, and the police, he's covered. He killed my friend. He's licensed. He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm.
Mr. Castile was murdered, okay? He had a right to have his gun constitutionally. He had his proper license in place, and he made an appropriate warning to law enforcement in order to make sure law enforcement did not make a mistake like that and kill him. He did everything right, okay? Did the NRA stand up for Mr. Castile? Did they really launch a campaign about gun owner rights for Mr. Castile? No, because Mr. Castile does not fit their narrative. That's why. Has nothing to do with guns. It has everything to do with the narrative and gun manufacturers, okay? So there's a prosecutor who's now pissed off. Let's show a picture of this prosecutor. This is a good guy. His name is John Choi. John Choi charged that cop initially. He could not seal the deal. However, okay, a jury would later acquit the cop who killed Philando Castile. In honor of Castile, however, this DA announced that his office will no longer prosecute felony cases resulting from minor traffic stops for violations like an expired registration, overly tinted windows, or broken lights. Wow, that's a big deal. The change, Choi said, is a deliberate attempt to cut down on what he said are unnecessary stops by police of people of color that too often spiral into fatal incidents. He said, and I quote, "I'm not going to do this anymore. I am not going to perpetuate these unjust practices that disproportionately impact my community." Let's show this hero's picture again. Let's show it again. Mr. Choi. He said enough is enough. He's not playing along anymore. Remember, there's a concept called prosecutorial discretion. Usually they utilize it in order to overcharge people. He's now going to undercharge. He's saying, whatever comes from these types of arrests, it is in my prosecutorial discretion to prosecute or not. Choi said he hopes his jurisdiction, where racial disparities are pervasive, can see a similar decline. St. Paul, Ramsey County's largest city, 43% of all traffic stops in 2020 involved black drivers, despite the fact that black people only make up 16% of the population in the city. In Roseville, Minnesota, 28% of traffic stops in 2020 involved black drivers, more than triple the 8% of black residents in the city. You have other prosecutors that are following suit. Marilyn Mosby is doing something very similar, and you have others. This is now catching on. This is a progressive idea, okay? Dan, thoughts?
Overall, I'm just really happy to see someone actually stand up and say, this is something that is negative in society. This is something that criminalizes communities. I've talked many times on TYT of my own stories about people making sure, hey, don't hang up your placard for getting into the parking garage, or else the cops will pull you over for having something hanging in your car or whatever, or brake lights or whatever. I really like activists when they reach out into communities of color and they do break checks for people and like prepare breaker lights just to make sure they don't get pulled over by the police. So overall, all these measures to make sure that we don't have these unnecessary run-ins with police officers who as an institution have shown that they are at least unwilling to try to address within themselves these issues where during stops they escalate to the point of fatality. The most we can do to prevent ourselves from getting to that point is the best we can do.
Man, I love it, brother. Put that very nicely.